Hi. Sorry. I am falling way behind. So I didn't even get started for the stream until like 5:20.
Sorry.
Oh,
I am
come on, shut up.
way behind.
Shut up, me.
I didn't even get
Quiet. Sorry. Ugh! It's not easy doing this. Let me just say. It's not just, popping on the camera and starting this. This is, maybe for some people it is, but not me. I was cleaning my kitchen. It took way longer than I thought it would. And, I didn't even get dinner because I needed to finish it before the stream, and the stream wasn't even set up yet, and I didn't even have any makeup on. And 15 minutes sometimes isn't enough. It took me like 5 minutes to put this stupid earring in because for whatever reason it wasn't going in. I wear earrings every day. There's no way that my hole is closed up. So I'm just like, why isn't it going in? Ugh. Anyway. Okay. Hi. Things that I normally say. Hello, fellow. That's it. I couldn't remember what I normally say. Hello, fellow witches and wizards. My name is PhoenixGinny, and welcome to the stream. Yes. Okay. Welcome to Storytime Saturdays number 9. 9. Yes. And we are going to finish Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Chapter 17. Now my ear's hurting. I pretty much jammed my earring into my ear hole. Yeah. We're going to finish this, and we're also going to start Chamber of Secrets. So what I really was also thinking of doing today was reading my prologue for the novel that I'm working on. If you don't know, I'm currently working on a novel. It is a horror mystery novel, and I'm quite proud of it. The whole rough draft is done. I'm currently working on the edited draft, and basically the prologue is pretty much done. I mean, like, it's not... I don't like to say that something is done until the whole book is done, because it might be something that, it might be... I might have to change something, like if I fix something at the end, and then it'll change what's going on in the prologue. I need to change it, so I don't want to say that it's done, but as of now, it's done. The prologue is done. It's very short, but I hope it'll set the mood and such. So, yeah, I would love to read that. I don't know if I should read that first or if I should read that last. I should probably read it first, let's be honest, because by the end of these things, I'm usually like, okay, I'm done, bye. And my voice is usually done, too. How long is chapter 17? I don't think it's super long. I don't know. It's actually kind of hefty, but chapter 1 of Chamber of Secrets is probably not long at all. Usually the first chapter isn't long at all. Oh, no. I was about to say, nope, I was wrong, because it was a whole chunk before I got chapter 2, but no, I skipped ahead to chapter 3. I have 2 chapters in my hand, so I don't think it's that long. I don't think it's... Anyway. Okay. So I will read that. But I'm going to talk about something first. This week has been an interesting week because I lost my job again. Funny story. If you were unaware, I was really not happy. I was... last time I streamed, like, I didn't even stream yesterday. I didn't stream yesterday because I was kind of just trying to process losing that job. And so, like, I just didn't feel like being on camera, being in front of people. I just didn't. So I'll stream tomorrow. Maybe I should say this stuff first. I'll get that. I'll get to that. Like on the stream. Leave a like on the stream. It really helps. Tells YouTube that you like it, and it will share it with other people. If you haven't already and you'd like to, click subscribe and click the bell icon so you can get notified the next time I stream and the next time I upload. And all that stuff. Follow me on Twitter at PhoenixGinny. I think I don't have an actual link in the description, but I do have my name in the description, so you know how to spell it. Capital P, capital G, and switch the E and the O around. And Twitter's where I'll let you know when I'm gonna stream and my uploads and stuff. I should probably post more stuff on Twitter, to be honest. I don't even think about it. But if I do have important information, it'll be on there. So I suggest you follow me there. But yeah, last time I streamed was last week, and I talked about, or at least on Friday, I think, I talked about how unhappy I was with the job I was in. And I couldn't even, I'm not even fully sure why I was really unhappy with it. The hours were really long, and I was essentially sitting there, and I wasn't really doing anything. Nobody really trained me to do anything. No one had time to train me to do anything, and so I felt like I was just wasting away so much. And then on Monday, we had a meeting explaining how everybody was going to have to work double, essentially, how I was going to work evenings and weekends as well, on top of a normal schedule. And I was like, doing what? I don't do anything. And to be honest, that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was answering the phones. Now, I don't have issues answering phones. Okay, let's be honest. I do have issues answering the phone. Let's be honest. It is the 21st century. Nobody likes using the phone, okay? That's not a thing. Especially, at least not for my generation, it's not a thing. Using the phone is not a skill they taught us because it wasn't necessary. And so, I don't mind answering the phone. So, first of all, I hate answering the phone. It's always scary. I don't know why. I don't know why it's so much scarier to speak face to face instead of on the phone. I don't know why. Essentially, I had just started this job, and the second day they had me answering phones. It was at a tax firm. My job was at a tax firm. I know nothing about taxes. I don't know anything. I think I know more about taxes now than I ever did, and I was only there for a week and a half. So, 2 weeks. Yeah, it was 2.5 weeks. I know, I know what a 2040 is. I know what a 1099 is. I know what a 1099G is, a 1099C, and all those things. Those are things that were completely, I have no idea what those were, and now I do. It's really weird. But anyway, but the fact is, they wanted me to answer the phones. And that was the hardest part. Honestly, I could handle going in. I could even handle coming in a couple of evenings and a couple of Saturdays. That's fine. But they really wanted me to answer the phones all the time for everybody. I thought it would be, I don't mind if everybody's in a meeting and it's just me. I can answer the phone. That's not a big deal. But they really wanted me to answer the phone all the time. And I knew nothing. You don't understand how hard it is to be so incompetent over and over and over. It's not fun. I just didn't think it was fair. I was miserable all the time. The little work that I could do, I was so afraid of the phone ringing that I couldn't focus on doing my work. So, the days just were awful, and they dragged on, and I was really unhappy. And to the point where I couldn't sleep at night. I don't even know how to explain it. I was going to stick it out because I believed it was God's will for me. Now, I am a Christian. If you're tuning in first time, you don't know, I am a Christian. So I do try to live my life the way God wants me to. Long story. And so I thought God wanted me to be in that job because it was paying me well. It was gonna really teach me how to have a real job. I was gonna, learn how to get through the tough stuff and to really stick it out and stay in one career. I thought it was what God wanted. But I was really unhappy. I wasn't sleeping at night. I wasn't functioning appropriately. It was an unhealthy situation. And as a Christian, I did pray to God saying, I don't want this. Take it back. I don't want this. If this was your idea, I don't want it. Take it away, essentially. But I came to the conclusion that if it's God's will to be there, then I was going to be there. I was going to do it grudgingly. I was going to do it unhappily, but I was going to do it. So I stuck it out for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, my superior calls me in, as they always do, I've been let go 4 different times in my life. I know that tone of voice. I know that look. I knew exactly what was happening. So, they always, he came up to me. He was like, Erica, can we talk in the conference room for a minute? It's always that tone of voice that they always have. It's always really, really low because they don't want anybody else to hear. Like, I didn't even know. At first, I didn't even realize he was talking to me because he was talking so low because they don't want anybody else to hear because they know they're about to do something and they don't want to humiliate you. So they have that low tone of voice. And so I was like, oh, no, here it is. And he just took me to the conference room and we had a conference call with him and his boss and how they said, we have a feeling that you really don't like it here, that you aren't happy. And I was like, I'm not. Who told you that? And I did express concerns my first week. I did express concerns about how long the hours were, how many extra hours I was going to have to put in. And on top of all that, the one person who was training me, okay, I took her position. She left that week. I had very little time to train with her. We trained for a day and then she was gone. So I didn't get to learn the job. That's it. I didn't get to learn the job. I didn't get a chance to get comfortable in the job. And so no, I wasn't happy. I wasn't. But I did express my concerns about that. And so they already had some kind of idea about how I felt about the job. But it was my first week, so they were going to just test it and see. And I honestly was just testing it to see how it was going to go. But I decided I was going to stick it out. It's them who decided, hey, if you're not happy, then why don't we just cut ties, is essentially what they said. And they said it wasn't because of anything I did wrong. They knew how unhappy I was, and that's not a healthy situation. So they let me go. And I choose to interpret it as God saying, you don't have to be here. If you don't want it, I don't want it. So he essentially rescued me from a very toxic, awful, miserable situation. So the company itself, very good company, very, very kind people. They compensate you very well. They paid for my lunch my very first day. They bought me lunch. They bought me Panera. They bought me a Panera bread pizza from Panera for lunch. And honestly, that was really cool. That was really awesome. But it also kind of raised red flags. It's they're really, why are they trying to bribe me? There was a part of me that's But anyway, but it's still super nice people. And they didn't, and my boss said, if you need a reference for another job elsewhere, you can ask me. You have my number. Don't worry about it. No hard feelings, essentially. It was just, it wasn't a bad situation. The job itself was a bad situation, but I didn't leave it a bad situation. It wasn't I, turned over the desk or shouted at somebody on the phone or something. Nope. Totally normal morning. I had no idea that it was coming, which is usually how it goes. But I don't know what that means. I I don't even know what that means for my channel, to be honest. I know that I don't want to go back. Thanks, Julia. I don't want to go back to the way I was doing it, because I was actually not super happy with streaming that regularly. It's actually really hard to stream 5 days a week. I don't know. Something about having to put a face on and having to entertain people for 3 hours 5 days for 5 days every week. Is there something really exhausting about that? So I don't think I'll go back to that, but I still want to do stuff for my channel. So I think I'm going to be streaming. I was streaming. Well, the fact is, I wasn't streaming a ton because there were many days where I found excuses not to stream. Like, oh, I don't feel good. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, I'm busy doing something else. Oh, it's a holiday, blah, blah, blah. I didn't, I came up with excuses not to stream because it was exhausting to do. So I think I'm going to tone it down to 3 times a week. I think I'm going to stream Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. I think Thursdays I'm going to stream The Sims. Fridays I'm going to stream some other game. And then Saturday will be what we do here, Storytime Saturday. And I think I'm going to stream in the evenings too, because I think I have more viewers in the evening. I didn't like streaming in the evenings before because by the evenings I'm wiped and I don't want to do anything. And that will still be the case, but I'm thinking I just won't do face cam. I think Thursdays and Fridays I'm just going to stream without face cam because you can see me now. I do like doing face cam, but I think I'm just going to do that for Storytime Saturdays. So I can just be in my pajamas and be real chill about it. But I think 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. is best for viewership, and I'm going to try and make it as chill and comfortable as possible for myself. But otherwise, the rest of the day, the rest of the week, I am going to be writing. I'm going to be writing more than I was before this job. I think that is my true calling. I think that's what I'm meant to do, so I'm going to be writing in the afternoons. I'm going to try and write about 4 hours a day. I think that that's a healthy amount for someone who wants to make it a career. So, but I'm still, and then in the evenings that I'm not streaming, I'm going to do uploads. Try to do uploads. I'm going to try and make more content that's not streaming. That's the plan for right now. It might change. I don't know. As far as looking for a job too, there's a part of me that doesn't want to look for a job. And that sounds really bad because it's like, you're not making any money. How are you going to make money? I don't know. I think I'll still look for jobs, but as applying, I think I'm going to wait for something that I actually want instead of just applying to apply. Which the state's not going to like. But I'm tired of ending up in a job that I hate that's just going to let me go in a month or 2 or a week. This was the shortest employment I've ever had. So, what's the longest employment I've ever had? I think that's a more important question. Well, if you count the jobs I had in school, if you count those as jobs, I guess, 5 years. I've been in the same job for 4 years. McDonald's kept me for a good 3 years, I think. But they don't fire anybody. Unless you pull a knife out on somebody, they don't fire you. So, I'm sure Christmas tree shops wanted to fire me. But again, I don't know. Something about jobs like that, they just don't fire you. Because they're like, we pay her minimum wage. I think they care less when they don't pay you as much. So, I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, I'm just tired of being in a job that I don't like, that doesn't work, that I'm just gonna lose. Even if I'm doing my best, I'm still gonna lose it because it's not a good fit. That's just the way it is. I'm still gonna look at jobs, but I don't know as far as applying. I don't know. At least that's how I feel right now. I'm also keeping my gym membership. I know that I shouldn't. I don't care. It's so important to me. I'm going to the gym. I've been to the gym three days a week this week. I went right after I got fired. I was like, great, I'm going to the gym. Deuces. So it's my thing. I'm keeping it, okay? It's only $10 a month. I'm keeping it. I would love to make money writing. The issue is I don't know where to put that. It is yet to happen is the thing. Is like you have to actually finish something to make money off of it. So, is the thing is I'm not making money in the meantime. Which is why I'm trying to do YouTube, which is why I have a Patreon, which I don't talk about my Patreon on Storytime Saturdays because I don't want to make money off of J.K. Rowling's stuff. This isn't my stuff. I don't want to make money off of this. And even if someday I do end up being able to monetize my videos, I wouldn't monetize Storytime Saturdays. That's not why I'm here. But I do have a Patreon, and I would like to earn money on Patreon for my writing, but I gotta get writing on there first. So, sorry about that, Julia. Yeah. So weird, complicated place I'm in right now. And that's kind of why I didn't stream or upload the last few days. I did upload a Deadly Device video. I can't remember when that was. That might have been Wednesday. But yeah. Anyway, I didn't stream yesterday, but I do want to start doing better. I want to get better at being more proactive. I do need to learn how to do things even when I don't feel like it. It's really easy when you don't have a job to just get up and be like, I don't feel like streaming. I don't feel like uploading. I just feel like watching YouTube all day. And I need to stop doing that because I'll never get anywhere if I do that. So that's what I'm working on. But I didn't stream yesterday. I will stream tomorrow. Probably 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. I'm going to be streaming Nancy Drew, I was supposed to say The Deadly Device. No. Sea of Darkness. See if we can't finish that. I'm going to make up for not streaming yesterday. I will stream tomorrow after lunch-ish. Okay. So, I am going to grab my prologue. Because I didn't grab it beforehand. So I'm going to go grab that. 1 second. Okay. All right. I don't know if I'll keep this in the edited version of this stream, but I'll keep it in the live stream, and I'll keep the live stream available to rewatch on my channel. I usually don't. I usually private them because there's an edited version. But I might keep this one. Okay. My prologue. No, this is the rough draft version. It's all here. Like, this whole thing is huge binders, my novel. This is the whole rough draft here. And I need the revised draft right here. Okay. So, this is a horror mystery novel, like I said, so it's a little spooky. So it's not very long at all. It's only like 2 pages, like a front page and a back page. So please let me know what you think of it when I have finished. All right. Okay. The novel is called The Woman in White. Prologue. Someone somewhere was screaming. At least That's what it sounded like. It was so faint that the teenage girl could have sworn it was only her imagination. She stopped and listened. She could not grasp the sound. The young woman sat up in her four-poster bed, her deep purple comforter in disarray. The stream of moonlight that crept through the gap in her curtains was the only light that interrupted the darkness. A gentle late summer breeze blew in through the open window. The night was quiet, everyone fast asleep except for her. She had been unable to sleep, unable to shake the feeling of dread that crept over her where she lay. She had tossed and turned every night for the past week, continuously awakened by something. First, the sound of banging, then the feeling of a presence in the room watching her as she slept. Now this non-existent screaming. She had tried to investigate the source of these disturbances, but nothing became of it. This was an old house with the occasional creak or two. The lady of the manor insisted that the girl would adjust to her new living quarters in due time. The girl wasn't so sure. She lay back down and closed her eyes. She tried desperately to block out the fabricated noise. That was when a rustle whispered from the corner of her room. She rose again and peered through the darkness. The girl had a moment of apprehension before reaching for her bedside lamp. A part of her wanted to see what was there, but a part of her really didn't. She turned the knob and light flooded the room. There was nothing there. The girl took a breath. She clicked the light off and shuffled back into her blanket. She was about to shut her eyes again when there was a flash of white in the corner of her eye. She looked. There was a flutter of white fabric by the window. She sighed. It was only moonlight reflecting off her white chiffon curtains, flitting in the wind. For what seemed like the 100th time, she lay down and tried to sleep. At first, there was nothing. Then another sound of rustling. A gust of cold air brushed against her cheek. The feeling of dread returned to her, and the thought nagged at the back of her mind. Maybe I should look again. She opened her eyes. A young woman stood morosely by the window in a long, tattered, flowing white dress. She was deathly pale and skinny and withered, a skeleton with skin. Her dark, sunken eyes stared at the girl. Her scabbed lips formed an endless stream of words, but no sound came out. No one could look this way and be a living being. The girl fumbled to turn the light back on when the woman in white screamed shrilly. The bulb shattered. Then I woke up. And that's the prologue. Jump right into the action. And also, make sure that the first sentence packs a punch. That's my advice as a writer, if you think that's any good. The first sentence is the most significant sentence in that prologue. Also, I've had a similar experience that happens to the girl in that story. Not that similar. Like, I didn't actually see someone in my room, but that feeling that you heard something. Thank you, Julia. That feeling that you hear something. Like, if all is quiet, you hear something in the distance, but it's so quiet that you're not even sure it's real. That happened once when I was a teenager. I had the window open, and I think the power was out. And so, like, there was no fan, there was no TV, there was no nothing. It was completely dead silent, and all I could hear was the outside because it was summertime and it was hot. So I had the window open. I could not shake the feeling that I could hear something. I could hear screaming, but it was so faint that I couldn't, like, I watched a horror movie right before that point, and that was long before I didn't watch horror movies at that time. Horror was scary to me at the time. I thought, I'm going crazy. Like, I thought I heard screaming, like, somewhere, and I thought, oh, I gotta stop watching these horror films, because I felt like I was so sure that I had imagined the screaming. And, like, I think I found out, like, the next day that there was, like, a crime that happened, like, on the other side of the community. Like, a shooting or something happened on the other side of the community, and I was like, maybe I did hear screaming. Holy crap. But, I think that's what happened. That's how I remember it, or that's how I choose to remember it. But that's an experience that I've had myself. But anyway, yeah. I hope it's good. I don't know. I hope it's good enough to buy. Like, it might be good enough to be like, oh, that's nice, but I need it to be good enough to buy. This is my livelihood. I would like to have a beta reader at some point. Well, that's a very fan fiction-y kind of term, beta readers. But I would like somebody to read my story, to just give it a look when it's done. Might have a friend or two read it, see what they think. But anyway, we're reading Harry Potter. That's what we do here. We are reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 17. The Man with Two Faces. Very last chapter. If you're new here, hi, welcome. Know that this isn't an audiobook. I don't read this strictly word for word. I should read it more word for word, honestly. I keep adding words or subtracting words or skipping whole sections. Not intentionally. But I'm not here to take away from what J.K. Rowling has done. I'm here to add to it. I'm here to expand upon it. I'm here to transform it. It's transformative content. So I do a lot of commentary. I do a lot of talking about it. I really go through. I stop every once in a while to talk about what I'm reading. So it's not strictly an audiobook. So if that's what you're looking for, I suggest you actually buy the audiobook and not watch me. Also, spoilers. There'll be lots of spoilers because I don't hold back. I talk about everything and anything in regards to Harry Potter. So, also, if you don't want spoilers, I suggest you watch something else. Yeah, so get comfy, get a drink. I currently have root beer in my awesome fancy dancy Harry Potter tumbler. I think that's what this is. My best friend got it for me for my birthday, and that same friend just had a baby yesterday, in fact. Very, very exciting. Anyway, that was her baby shower that I went to a handful of Saturdays ago, in January, actually, when I had to miss a straight time Saturday because I went to her baby shower. It was her baby shower I went to. Anyway, let's read. I've been jabbering on too long. Okay, Chapter 17, The Man with Two Faces. Okay, this is a weird place to start. Maybe I'll go ahead and read the last... I'll read the sentence from the previous chapter because the next sentence will be more impactful if you remember what the last chapter was. The last sentence of the last chapter. There was already someone there, but it wasn't Snape. It wasn't even Voldemort. It was Quirrell. You, gasped Harry. Quirrell smiled. His face wasn't twitching at all. Me, he said calmly. I wondered whether I'd be meeting you here, Potter. But I thought, Snape. Severus? Quirrell laughed, and it wasn't his usual quivering tremble either, but cold and sharp. Yes, Severus does seem the type, doesn't he? So useful to have him swooping around like an overgrown bat. Next to him, who would suspect poor stuttering Professor Quill? Sorry. Harry couldn't take it in. This couldn't be true. It couldn't. But Snape tried to kill me. No. I tried to kill you. Your friend Miss Granger accidentally knocked me over as she rushed to set fire to Snape at the Quidditch match. She broke my eye contact with you. Another few seconds and I'd have I'd have got you off that broom. Can't read. I'd have managed it before if Snape hadn't been muttering a counter curse trying to save you. Snape was trying to save me. Yes, Harry. Of course, said Quirrell coolly. Why do you think he wanted to referee your next match? He was trying to make sure I didn't do it again. Funny, really. He needn't have bothered. I couldn't do anything with Dumbledore watching. All the other teachers thought Snape was trying to stop Gryffindor from winning. He did make himself unpopular. And what a waste of time, when after all that, I'm going to kill you tonight. Quirrell snapped his fingers. Ropes sprang out of thin air and wrapped themselves tightly around Harry. You're too nosy to live, Potter, scurrying around the school on Halloween like that. For all I knew, you'd seen me coming to look at what was guarding the stone. You let the troll in. Certainly. I have a special gift with trolls. You must have seen what I did to the one in the chamber back there. Unfortunately, while everyone else was running around looking for Snape, who already suspected me, went straight to the 3rd floor to head me off. And not only did my troll fail to beat you to death, that 3-headed dog didn't even manage to bite Snape's leg off properly. Yeah. Yes, Quirrell is explaining everything. Perfect. Perfect for us. Yeah. So Quirrell, the troll bit beforehand, in the as one of the enchantments guarding the stone, it was already dead when we came by it. That's because it was Quirrell's, and he was able to subdue it because he has a gift with trolls. Interesting gift. Now wait quietly, Potter. I need to examine this interesting mirror. It was only then that Harry realized what was standing behind Quirrell. It was the mirror of Erised. This mirror is the key to finding the stone, Quirrell murmured, tapping his way around the frame. Trust Dumbledore to come up with something like this. But he's in London. I'll be far away by the time he gets back. All Harry could think of doing was to keep Quirrell talking and stop him from concentrating on the mirror. I saw you and Snape in the forest, he blurted out. Yes, said Quirrell idly, walking around the mirror to look at the back. He was on to me by that time, trying to find out how far I'd got. He suspected me all along, tried to frighten me, as though he could, when I had Lord Voldemort on my side. Why didn't he go to Dumbledore? Why didn't Dumbledore just fire him? I feel like there's a hole in this story. I feel like if Snape really suspected him, he would have told Dumbledore, and Dumbledore would have fired him. Or something. Done something. I don't know. Quirrell came back out from behind the mirror and stared hungrily into it. I see the stone. I'm presenting it to my master. But where is it? Harry struggled against the ropes binding him, but they didn't give. He had to keep Quirrell from giving his whole attention to the mirror. But Snape always seemed to hate me so much. Oh, he does, said Quirrell casually. Heavens, yes. He was at Hogwarts with your father, didn't you know? They loathed each other. But he never wanted you dead. I wouldn't say that. He has more compelling reason for Harry to be alive. Let's put it that way. But I heard you a few days ago, sobbing. I thought Snape was threatening you. For the first time, a spasm of fear flitted across Quirrell's face. Sometimes, he said, I find it hard to follow my master's instructions. He is a great wizard, and I am weak. You mean he was there in the classroom with you? Harry gasped. Voldemort was in Hogwarts. That's a crazy thought. That's a really crazy thought. Voldemort was in Hogwarts. Is in Hogwarts at this point. And he doesn't return until Deathly Hallows, which is a connection between this one and the last one that you can make. A lot of connections can be made between Sorcerer's Stone and Deathly Hallows. Yeah. Yeah, Dumbledore kept Quirrell just so Harry could go on an adventure. Honestly, there's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised. Uh, He's with me wherever I go, said Quirrell quietly. I met him when I traveled around the world. A foolish young man I was then, full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. Lord Voldemort showed me how wrong I was. There is no good and evil. There is only power, and those too weak to seek it. Since then I have served him faithfully, although I have let him down many times. He has had to be very hard on me. Quirrell shivered suddenly. He does not forgive mistakes easily. When I failed to steal the stone from Gringotts, he was most displeased. He punished me, decided he would have to keep a closer watch on me. Very close watch. Yes, this concept of there is no good and evil, there's only power, and those too weak to seek it. Obviously, J.K. Rowling is making commentary on the latter, or the opposite of that. If the bad guy says that, then the opposite must be true. There is most certainly good and evil. Quirrell's voice trailed away. Harry was remembering his trip to Diagon Alley. How could he have been so stupid? He'd seen Quirrell there that very day, shaken hands with him in the leaky cauldron. Yeah, you did. Quirrell cursed under his breath. I don't understand. Is the stone inside the mirror? Should I break it? Harry's mind was racing. What I want more than anything else in the world at this moment, he thought, is to find the stone before Quirrell does. So if I look in the mirror, I should see myself finding it, which means I'll see where it's hidden. But how can I look without Quirrell realizing what I'm up to? He tried to edge to the left, to get in front of the glass without Quirrell noticing, but the ropes around his ankles were too tight. He tripped and fell over. Quirrell ignored him. He was still talking to himself. What does this mirror do? How does it work? Help me, Master. And to Harry's horror, a voice answered, and the voice seemed to come from Quirrell himself. Use the boy. Use the boy. Quirrell rounded on Harry. Yes, Potter, come here. He clapped his hands once, and the ropes binding Harry fell off. Harry got slowly to his feet. Come here, Quirrell repeated. Look in the mirror, and tell me what you see. Harry walked toward him. I must lie, he thought desperately. I must look and lie about what I see. That's all. Quirrell moved close behind him. Harry breathed in the funny smell that seemed to come from Quirrell's turban. It's canon. Voldemort stinks. He closed his eyes, stepped in front of the mirror, and opened them again. He saw his reflection, pale and scared-looking at first, but a moment later the reflection smiled at him. It put its hand into its pocket and pulled out a blood-red stone. It winked and put the stone back in its pocket, and as it did so, Harry felt something heavy drop into his real pocket. Somehow, incredibly, he'd gotten the stone. Well, said Quirrell impatiently, what do you see? Harry screwed up his courage. I see myself shaking hands with Dumbledore, he invented. I've won the House Cup for Gryffindor. I think it would have been better if he said he saw his parents, because that's more believable, because that's actually what he would see. Quirrell cursed again. Get out of the way, he said. As Harry moved aside, he felt the Sorcerer's Stone against his leg. Dare he make a break for it? But he hadn't walked 5 paces before a high voice spoke, though Quirrell wasn't moving his lips. He lies. He lies. Potter, come back here, Quirrell shouted. Tell me the truth. What did you just see? The high voice spoke again. Let me speak to him, face to face. Master, you are not strong enough. I have strength enough for this. Harry felt as if Devil's Snare was rooting him to the spot. He couldn't move a muscle. Petrified, he watched as Quirrell reached up and began to unwrap his turban. What was going on? The turban fell away. Quirrell's head looked strangely small without it. Then he turned slowly on the spot. Harry would have screamed, but he couldn't make a sound. Where there should have been a back to Quirrell's head, there was a face, the most terrible face Harry had ever seen. It was chalk white, with glaring red eyes and slits for nostrils, like a snake. When I first ever saw this movie, my 4th grade teacher read this book to us, the whole class. But she hadn't finished it yet. But I watched the movie with my parents before she finished it, so I had no idea that Voldemort was on the back of Quirrell's head. No idea. And so when I saw the movie, I was genuinely freaked out. I was like 10 years old. I was like, what? No. It was unbelievable. It was unfathomable to me. I never would have guessed it. Harry Potter, it whispered. Harry tried to take a step backward, but his legs wouldn't move. See what I've become, the face said, mere shadow and vapor. I have form only when I can share another's body, but there have always been those willing to let me into their hearts and minds. Unicorn blood has strengthened me these past weeks. You saw a faithful Quirrell drinking it for me in the forest. And once I have the elixir of life, I will be able to create a body of my own. Now, why don't you give me that stone in your pocket? Voldemort probably knows because he probably is a practiced legitimens. It's the magical ability to read minds. It's a skill that you can learn. Snape is somewhat of an expert, actually. So he knew. The feeling suddenly surged back into Harry's legs. He stumbled backward. Don't be a fool, snarled the face. Better save your own life and join me, or you'll meet the same end as your parents. They died begging me for mercy. Liar! Harry shouted suddenly. Talk about his parents, and suddenly Harry won't have it. Suddenly Harry is all up in your business. He was scared before, now. I'm trying to think if that was actually true. I know what Voldemort's coming. I know what he's getting at. That his parents weren't super brave, although they were. James definitely tried to fight Voldemort. Lily might have begged. If only for her son's life, at least. I think we find out, and we hear snippets of the moment when she died in Prisoner of Azkaban, and I can't remember exactly what she says, but she might have begged. That's not such a terrible thing. I don't know. Voldemort makes it seem like it's such a terrible thing to beg for your life. It isn't, really. Quirrell was walking backward at him, so that Voldemort could see him. The evil face was now smiling. How touching, it hissed. I always value bravery. Yes, boy, your parents were brave. I killed your father first, and he put up a courageous fight. But your mother needn't have died. She was trying to protect you. Now give me the stone, unless you want her to have died in vain. That is also something we forget. Voldemort didn't really intend to kill Lily. That's something that nobody talks about. He was totally going to kill James. Snape was all for that. Snape had a conversation with Voldemort before Voldemort came to Harry's house when he was a baby. Snape had a conversation. He was like, kill James, I don't care. Don't kill Lily. Snape gave Voldemort a specific request. I was going to say instructions, but you don't instruct Voldemort. He gave Voldemort a request not to kill Lily. He didn't even care if Harry was dead. Kill James, I don't care. Kill Harry, I don't care. Just don't kill Lily. Well, that didn't go. And so Voldemort was actually going to honor that. Like, Voldemort didn't care. He was like, your mother needn't have died. He wasn't going to kill her, but she wouldn't get out of the way, as a good mother would, as a good mother would protect her child, so he had to kill her. Which Snape should have realized that was what was going to happen. I don't know. Snape's concept of love is very skewed. So, anyway, and Voldemort, I'll repeat what Voldemort says. Now give me the stone, unless you want her to have died in vain. Never! Harry sprung toward the flame door. Flame? Oh, yes, the flame door. Yes, the way he came in. Well, I was thinking, because in the movie, there's flame, there's fire everywhere. And I don't think that actually happens in the book. And so that's why I was caught off guard. I was like, wait a minute, there is fire? But he's talking about at the door from the previous room. He had to take the potion to get through the fire. That's what he means by the flame door. But Voldemort screamed, "Seize him!" And the next second, Harry felt Quirrell's hand close on his wrist. At once a needle-sharp pain seared across Harry's scar. His head felt as though it was about to split in two. He yelled, struggling with all his might, and to his surprise, Quirrell let go of him. The pain in his head lessened. He looked around wildly to see where Quirrell had gone, and saw him hunched in pain, looking at his fingers. They were blistering before his eyes. "Seize him! Seize him!" shrieked Voldemort again, and Quirrell lurched, knocking Harry clean off his feet, landing on top of him, both hands around Harry's neck. Harry's scar was almost blinding him with pain, yet he could see Quirrell howling in agony. "Master, I cannot hold him! My hands! My hands!" And Quirrell, though pinning Harry to the ground with his knees, let go of his neck and stared, bewildered at his own palms. Harry could see they looked burned, raw, red, and shiny. "Then kill him, fool, and be done!" screeched Voldemort. Quirrell raised his hand to perform a deadly curse, but Harry, by instinct, reached up and grabbed Quirrell's face. "Ah!" Quirrell rolled off him, his face blistering too, and then Harry knew. Quirrell couldn't touch his bare skin, not without suffering terrible pain. His only chance was to keep hold of Quirrell, keep him in enough pain to stop him from doing a curse. Harry jumped to his feet, caught Quirrell by the arm, and hung on as tight as he could. Quirrell screamed and tried to throw Harry off. The pain in Harry's head was building. He couldn't see. He could only hear Quirrell's terrible shrieks and Voldemort's yells of, "Kill him! Kill him!" and other voices, maybe in Harry's own head, crying, "Harry? Harry!" He felt Quirrell's arm wrenched from his grasp, knew all was lost, and fell into blackness. Down, down, down. I believe Dumbledore just walked in. In the movie, you don't see that. In the movie, it's just Harry. He kills Quirrell, essentially, and then he's lying there. But I believe that's what just happened, is Dumbledore walked in and rescued him. I believe. Something gold was glinting just above him. The snitch. He tried to catch it, but his arms were too heavy. He blinked. It wasn't the snitch at all. It was a pair of glasses. How strange. He blinked again. The smiling face of Albus Dumbledore swam into view above him. "Good afternoon, Harry," said Dumbledore. Harry stared at him. Then he remembered. "Sir, the stone. It was Quirrell. He got the stone. Sir, quick! Calm yourself, dear boy. You are a little behind the times," said Dumbledore. "Quirrell does not have the stone." "Then who does?" "Sir, Harry, please relax, or Madame Pomfrey will have me thrown out." Harry swallowed and looked around him. That's actually true. I bet she would. He realized he must be in the hospital wing. He was lying in a bed with white linen sheets, and next to him was a table piled high with what looked like half the candy shop. Tokens from your friends and admirers, said Dumbledore, beaming. What happened down in the dungeons between you and Professor Quirrell is a complete secret. So, naturally, the whole school knows. I believe your friends Misters Fred and George Weasley were responsible for trying to send you a toilet seat. No doubt they thought it would amuse you. Madame Pomfrey, however, felt it might not be very hygienic and confiscated it. What a weird... They're so weird. Why? How long have I been in here? 3 days. Mr. Ronald Weasley and Miss Granger will be most relieved you have come round. They have been extremely worried. But, sir, the stone. I see you are not to be distracted. Very well, the stone. Professor Quirrell did not manage to take it from you. I arrived in time to prevent that, although you were doing very well on your own, I must say. You got there? You got Hermione's owl? We must have crossed in mid-air. No sooner had I reached London than it became clear to me that the place I should be was the one I had just left. I arrived just in time to pull Quirrell off you. It was you. I feared I might be too late. You nearly were. I couldn't have kept him off the stone much longer. Not the stone, boy. You. The effort involved nearly killed you. For one terrible moment there, I was afraid it had. As for the stone, it has been destroyed. So, it could have killed him. Why? The effort involved nearly killed you. How? I don't think it's because of Lily's protective magic, love spell, I don't know what you want to call it. He's going to explain it in a few minutes. But that's why Harry was able to burn. That's why Quirrell burned when he touched Harry, because of this protective charm that Harry's mother put on him by dying for him. I don't think that would have killed him. It might have something to do with the fact that Harry is a Horcrux. That a piece of Voldemort's soul is inside Harry. I wonder if that somehow struggled against what was happening with Lily's protective spell. And maybe that was the effort that Dumbledore's talking about that nearly killed him. Because I have a hard time believing that Lily's protective charm over Harry was so magical and so powerful that it was killing him. It seems counterproductive. Maybe. I don't know. Of course, Dumbledore's not going to talk about it. Because, yeah. Destroyed, said Harry blankly. But your friend, Nicholas Flamel. Oh, you know about Nicholas, said Dumbledore, sounding quite delighted. You did do the thing properly, didn't you? Well, Nicholas and I have had a little chat, and agreed it's all for the best. Excuse me. But that means he and his wife will die, won't they? They have enough elixir stored to set their affairs in order, and then, yes, they will die. Dumbledore smiled at the look of amazement on Harry's face. To one as young as you, I'm sure it seems incredible. But to Nicholas and Perenelle, it really is like going to bed after a very, very long day. After all, to the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure. You know, the stone was really not such a wonderful thing. As much money and life as you could want. The two things most human beings would choose above all. The trouble is, humans do have a knack of choosing precisely those things that are worst for them. Yeah. I would imagine. I wouldn't want to live to be 600. Honestly, the sound of living forever in heaven sounds exhausting, if I'm honest. I mean, I know it won't be, but the thought of it still exhausts me. Yeah, wow. That's just powerful. I'm just kind of dwelling on it. Life and money. We choose precisely the things that are worst for us. Yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. Like, what more can you say? Like, solid wisdom drop. Harry lay there, lost for words. Dumbledore hummed a little and smiled at the ceiling. "Sir," said Harry, "I've been thinking. Sir, even if the stone's gone, you know who. Call him Voldemort, Harry. Always use the proper name for things. In fact, call him Tom Riddle if you want. That's his real name. Fear of a name increases fear of the thing itself." "Yes, sir. Well, Voldemort's going to try other ways of coming back, isn't he? He hasn't gone, has he?" "No, Harry, he has not. He is still out there somewhere, perhaps looking for another body to share. Not being truly alive, he cannot be killed. He left Quirrell to die. He shows just as little mercy to his followers as his enemies. Nevertheless, Harry, while you may only have delayed his return to power, it will merely take someone else who is prepared to fight what seems a losing battle next time. And if he is delayed again and again, why, he may never return to power." Harry nodded, but stopped quickly because it made his head hurt. Then he said, "Sir, there are some other things I'd like to know, if you can tell me. Things I want to know the truth about." Yeah, Dumbledore." "The truth," Dumbledore sighed. "It is a beautiful and terrible thing, and should therefore be treated with great caution. However, I shall answer your questions unless I have a very good reason not to, in which case I beg you'll forgive me. I shall not, of course, lie." There he goes. So, in Order of the Phoenix, Dumbledore and Harry have this special discussion. It was, in fact, like the most exciting thing that people looked forward to in the book because it was a line that was released long before the book actually came out. It was leaked, or J.K. Rowling leaked it on purpose or something or whatever, but she said there's an important sentence that explains everything about Order of the Phoenix, and it's this sentence. Dumbledore says to Harry, "Harry, there's something that I should have told you 5 years ago." Essentially, something like that. And so he should have told him right here. He's going to have this discussion with Harry about Harry having this special connection with Voldemort. Of course, even then, Dumbledore doesn't even tell the whole story, but how Harry and Voldemort are destined to fight each other, which isn't really that big of a secret because you kind of figured that, right? But Dumbledore was supposed to tell Harry here, but he doesn't because he wants to protect Harry from the truth. He wants to protect Harry's innocence. And this is that moment that he talks about. He talks about in Order of the Phoenix, he says, "Harry, there's something I should have told you a long time ago. I should have told you in that hospital, when you were in that hospital bed your first year, when you asked me, I should have answered honestly and completely what I'm about to tell you right now." This is this moment right here. "Well, Voldemort said that he only killed my mother because she tried to stop him from killing me. But why would he want to kill me in the first place?" Ding, ding, ding. The one question he did not want you to ask is what I wrote here. I wrote that in my book right here at the bottom. He's like, Dumbledore's like, "I'll answer any question." Harry's like, "Why did he want to kill me? Except that one." "I'll answer any question but that one." It's the one question he didn't want you to ask. Dumbledore sighed very deeply this time. "Alas, the first thing you ask me I cannot tell you. Not today, not now. You will know one day. Put it from your mind for now, Harry. When you are older, I know you hate to hear this. When you are ready, you will know." And Harry knew it would be no good to argue. "But why couldn't Quirrell touch me? Your mother died to save you. If there is one thing Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. He didn't realize that love, as powerful as your mother's, for you leaves its own mark, not a scar, no visible sign. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. It is in your very skin. Quirrell, full of hatred, greed, and ambition, sharing his soul with Voldemort, could not touch you for this reason. It was agony to touch a person marked by something so good. This actually makes me think. As a Christian, I have lots of specific Christian thoughts. When I read the Harry Potter books, I make references, I make connections with Christianity. Sometimes J.K. Rowling intends them, sometimes she doesn't. But I always think of the Holy Spirit at this concept. How the Bible says that we are marked by the Holy Spirit, and I always think that because in the movie, like, Dumbledore's like, you've been marked, and then Harry, like, obviously is like, he touches his scar thinking, oh, Dumbledore means his scar, and he's like, no, this is a mark you can't see, it lives inside you. It's yeah, and that's what the Holy Spirit is like. It's an unseen mark where when you accept Jesus is your Lord and Savior, you receive the Holy Spirit, and you receive the mark of the Holy Spirit, meaning that you are chosen, you are saved, and it's a mark you can't see, and evil more or less can't touch us. Now, within reason, of course. That doesn't mean that we don't have evil encounters, that we don't have, that evil doesn't affect us or don't have bad things happen to us or anything like that. It just means we're protected from this kind of possession. We cannot share our soul with evil because of the mark of the Holy Spirit, that kind of thing. The way that Quirrell shares his soul with Voldemort. I put my bookmark away for some reason. Because I wanted to grab my pencil. That's why. Dumbledore now became very interested in a bird out of the windowsill, which gave Harry time to dry his eyes on the sheet. When he had found his... Oh my goodness! That's a reference... That's sort of a connection. I don't even think J.K. Rowling meant for that to happen. Okay, so as I'll bring up a lot, there's a pyramid, right? The Harry Potter books make a pyramid with, like, each book has a connection on the pyramid. So, like, you have 1, 2, my camera's backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. With each book having a certain connection with each other. You'll find similarities between them. So you have 1, 4, and 7. They all make connections with each other. I don't know if there is a point. Does Harry cry in Deathly Hallows? I mean, I do. I cry a lot in Deathly Hallows. He certainly has reason to. Does he cry in Deathly Hallows at any point? I don't remember. But there is another scene. Right here, we have Harry in a hospital bed weeping. There is another time where that happens, and it's so sad, it's so sweet, it's so sad. It makes me cry every single time I read it. Goblet of Fire, right after the whole incident at the end with the Triwizard Tournament and the graveyard and all that. When all that's done and Cedric is dead and just the whole weight of everything that just happened to Harry that night. He's in the hospital wing, in bed, and he just cries. Like, Harry's not really a crier. He doesn't... I mean, I cry like every movie. I feel like I cry like every book. I cry at some point. I cry over everything. Harry's not really a crier. Despite everything that happens to him, I can only think of... I don't even know if he cries in Order of the Phoenix, to be honest. He cries here. He gets teary-eyed at the very least. And then Goblet of Fire, in that moment in the hospital wing, he definitely cries. Definitely cries. That's just just absolutely loses it, because there's that section that Molly Weasley is there, and how, like, Molly just embraces him because she doesn't know what to do. It's just so sad. So sad. But Harry definitely cries in Goblet of Fire. I don't even think he cries in Order of the Phoenix. Like, he's so angry that he doesn't cry. You know, after Sirius Black dies, he's stuck there in Dumbledore's office, and he's just throwing Dumbledore's shit around. It's great. It's one of the best scenes ever. Harry's just destroying Dumbledore's stuff. I don't even think he cries there. I don't even think he cries for Sirius Black. He does in the movie, which is great. I love that. Love that. That he cries in the movie, but I don't think he cries in the book. He cries for Dumbledore in the movie. He doesn't cry for Dumbledore in the book, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he cries for Dumbledore either. I don't think he cries. My point is, Harry's not really a crier. So this is, like, really significant. He cries here and in Goblet of Fire. I don't know if J.K. Rowling meant for us to make that connection, but I do. Both times he's crying in the hospital wing. And you're supposed to make connections. You are supposed to make connections between the first one, the fourth one, and the seventh one. All three of them have dragons. I feel like there's more than that. There is more than that, I swear. I took a special topics Harry Potter class in college, and this is what we talked about. We made connections. There's a dragon, and there are no dragons in the second one, or the third one, or the fifth one, or the sixth one. But there are dragons in the first one, the fourth one, and the seventh one. I feel like there's more than that, though. I can't think. Can't think of what other connections. Connections with Voldemort. Where Harry confronts Voldemort. Does Harry confront Voldemort in any other... he confronts Voldemort a little bit in Order of the Phoenix. It's still not as pronounced as the first one, the fourth one, and the seventh one. I feel like there's other connections, too. Anyway. I just wondered if that connection was intentional, is all. When he had found his voice again, Harry said, "And the invisibility cloak. Do you know who sent it to me?" "Ah, your father happened to leave it in my possession, and I thought you might like it." Dumbledore's eyes twinkled. "Useful things. Your father used it mainly for sneaking off to the kitchens to steal food when he was here." "And there's something else." "Fire away." "Quirrell said Snape, Professor Snape." Harry. Blah. I know there's tons of people who like Snape. I don't. Okay? I know. I'm grateful for the things he's done, blah, blah, blah. I still don't like him, okay? Yes, him. Yeah, that guy. Quirrell said that he hates me because he hated my father. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's literally no other reason. He hates you because he hates your dad. Literally no other basis. Extremely unfair. Well, they did rather just detest each other. Not unlike yourself and Mr. Malfoy. This is different. And then, your father did something Snape... I forgot about that. Holy moly, I forgot about that. And then your father did something Snape could never forgive. What? He saved his life. What? I totally forgot about this. This is not in the movies or anything. Yes, said Dumbledore dreamily. Funny, the way people's minds work, isn't it? Professor Snape couldn't bear being in your father's debt. And I do believe he worked so hard to protect you this year because he felt that would make him and your father even. Then he could go back to hating your father's memory in peace. It's way more complicated than that. I wonder if Dumbledore does know. That's the thing, doesn't he? Dumbledore does know. Snape told Dumbledore not to tell Harry or anybody else what's actually going on. The truth is, spoiler alert if you don't know, Snape is actually madly in love with Harry's mom, Lily. And that's why Snape protects Harry, because she's Lily's son. And that's probably the primary reason why he hates James. Though there are other reasons to hate James too. Let's be honest, I kind of hate James. James is kind of not a nice person. But Dumbledore doesn't tell Harry about Snape's feelings for Lily. First of all, that'd be super weird to tell an 11-year-old kid. Yeah, your potions master wanted to be with your mom. That's super weird. but even then, Snape told Dumbledore not to tell anybody, and so that's probably why Dumbledore doesn't talk about it now. Of course, that would have cleared up so much. That would have been so helpful. But no, that's Snape isn't gonna ever repay that debt. Ever. Snape is gonna continue to protect Harry. But yes, I forgot about that. James saved Snape's life. It happened in school, I believe. And I'm not even entirely sure how I know this, because there's a part of me that feels like it's not really explained in the book. I feel like this was explained somewhere else. But, Harry... No, not Harry. So, Lupin is a werewolf, yeah? And he was a werewolf with his friends in school. You know, you had Lupin and James and Sirius and Peter Pettigrew. Lupin was a werewolf. And, you know, the other three became animagi so they could hang out with him, because werewolves have a better time hanging out with animals than humans, for obvious reasons. So that was their way of being with Lupin when he was a werewolf, is that they would be animals together. Such a weird concept. Anyway, I think Sirius Black played a prank on Snape. Was it Sirius or was it James? I don't know if James was a part of it. Sirius, I think Snape knew that something funky was going on with those four at night. Something was crazy, because they would sneak off once a month to do something. And Snape was determined to get them into trouble. Snape was determined to find out what they were up to. I think either Sirius Black told him or let him overhear that they were going to hang out in the Shrieking Shack, or he found out accidentally or somehow, because Snape was trying to find them. He was trying to look into what they were doing. So Snape ended up going out to see what they were up to, and he ended up in the Shrieking Shack with Lupin as a werewolf. And Snape almost got killed by Lupin, but James saved him. I don't know exactly how that happened. I don't know exactly what went down. But James ended up saving Snape from Lupin as a werewolf. I think that's what happened. I don't remember if it's explained in the book or explained somewhere else, or it's very possible that that's some fan fiction that I read. I don't know. I don't remember specifically. I don't know. Maybe we'll come across it. It's like one of those memories that are so vague that you're not sure it's real. It's one of those. I think that's what happened, though. That James... I don't know if James was part of the... I believe it was a prank that they wanted to set Snape up. I don't know if Sirius really intended to get Snape killed or not. I don't know. But anyway, James put a stop to the prank, is essentially what happened. Harry tried to understand this, but it made his head pound, so he stopped. There's one more thing. Just the one? How did I get the stone out of the mirror? Now, I'm glad you asked me that. It was one of my more brilliant ideas, and between you and me, that's saying something. You see, only one who wanted to find the stone, find it, but not use it, would be able to get it. Otherwise, they'd just see themselves making gold or drinking elixir of life. My brain surprises even me sometimes. Now, enough questions. I suggest you make a start on these sweets. Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. I was unfortunate enough in my youth to come across a vomit-flavored one, and since then I'm afraid I've rather lost my liking for them. And I think I'll be safe with a nice toffee, don't you?" He smiled and popped the golden brown bean into his mouth. Then he choked and said, "Alas, earwax." Madame Pomfrey, the nurse, was a nice woman, but very strict. "Just 5 minutes," Harry pleaded. "Absolutely not." "You let Professor Dumbledore in?" "Well, of course, that was the headmaster. Quite different. You need rest." "I am resting. Look, lying down and everything." "Oh, go on, Madame Pomfrey." "Oh, very well," she said, "but 5 minutes only." And she let Ron and Hermione in. "Harry!" Hermione looked ready to fling her arms around him again, but Harry was glad she held herself in, as his head was still very sore. "Oh, Harry, we were so sure you were going to—" "Dumbledore was so worried. The whole school's talking about it," said Ron. "What really happened?" It was one of those rare occasions when the true story is even more strange and exciting than the wild rumors. Harry told them everything. Quirrell, the mirror, the stone, and Voldemort. Ron and Hermione were a very good audience. They gasped in all the right places, and Harry told them what was under Quirrell's turban. And when Harry told them what was under Quirrell's turban, Hermione screamed out loud. "So the stone's gone," said Ron finally. "Flamel's just going to die?" "That's what I said. But Dumbledore thinks that—" What was it? "To the well-organized mind, death is but the next great adventure." If there's an afterlife for you, it certainly will be. There will be an afterlife for me. What will there be for you? Great quote from one of my favorite movies. "I always said he was off his rocker," said Ron, looking quite impressed at how crazy his hero was. "So Dumbledore's Ron's hero. Interesting." Not bad as heroes go. I just think that was an odd comment to make. Anyway. "So what happened to you two?" said Harry. "Well, I got back all right," said Hermione. "I brought Ron round. That took a while. And we were dashing up to the Owlery to contact Dumbledore when we met him in the entrance hall. He already knew. He just said, 'Harry's gone after him, hasn't he?' and hurtled off to the 3rd floor. So he freaking knew." He wanted Harry to have an adventure. He freaking knew. "Do you think he meant you to do it?" said Ron. "That's exactly what I'm saying. Sending you your father's cloak and everything." "Well," Hermione exploded, "if he did, I mean to say, that's terrible. You could have been killed, I know." Very, very irresponsible of an adult. Jeez. But then, of course, Harry would say, "No, it isn't," said Harry thoughtfully. "He's a funny man, Dumbledore. I think he sort of wanted to give me a chance. I think he knows more or less everything that goes on here, you know. I reckon he had a pretty good idea we were going to try. Instead of stopping us, he just taught us enough to help. I don't think it was an accident he let me find out how the mirror worked. It's almost like he thought I had the right to face Voldemort if I could." As an adult, I'm extremely disapproved. If Harry had parents, Dumbledore wouldn't get away with this. "Yeah, Dumbledore's off his rocker all right," said Ron proudly. "Listen, you've got to be up for the end of the year feast tomorrow. The points are all in for Slytherin. The points are all in, and Slytherin won, of course. You missed the last Quidditch match. We were steamrolled by Ravenclaw without you. But the food'll be good." At that moment, Madame Pomfrey bustled over. "You've had nearly 15 minutes. Now out," she said firmly. After a good night's sleep, Harry felt nearly back to normal. "I want to go to the feast," he told Madame Pomfrey as she straightened his many candy boxes. "I can't, can I? Professor Dumbledore says you are to be allowed to go," she said sniffly, as though, in her opinion, Professor Dumbledore didn't realize how risky feasts could be. "And you have another visitor." "Oh, good," said Harry. "Who is it?" Hagrid sidled through the door as he spoke. As usual when he was indoors, Hagrid looked too big to be allowed. He sat down next to Harry, took one look at him, and burst into tears. "It's oh my bloody fault, he sobbed, his face in his hands. I told the evil Git how to get past Fluffy. I told him. It was the only thing he didn't know, and I told him. You could have died, all for a dragon egg. I'll never drink again. I shall be chucked out and made to live as a muggle. Hagrid, said Harry, shocked to see Hagrid shaking with grief and remorse, great tears leaking down into his beard. Hagrid, he'd have found out somehow. This is Voldemort we're talking about. He'd have found out even if you hadn't told him. You could have died, sobbed Hagrid. And don't say the name. Voldemort, Harry bellowed, and Hagrid was so shocked he stopped crying. I've met him, and I'm calling him by his name. Please cheer up, Hagrid. We saved the stone. It's gone. He can't use it. Have a chocolate frog. I got loads. Hagrid wiped his nose on the back of his hand and said, That reminds me. I've got you a present. It's not a stout sandwich, is it? Said Harry anxiously, at last Hagrid gave a weak chuckle. Nah, Dumbledore gave me the day off yesterday to fix it. Of course, he should have sacked me instead. Anyway, got you this. It seemed to be a handsome, leather-covered book. Harry opened it curiously. It was full of wizard photographs, smiling and waving at him from every page were his mother and father. Sent owls off to all your parents' old school friends, asking for photos. Knew you didn't have any. Do you like it? Harry couldn't speak, but Hagrid understood. Harry made his way down to the end-of-year feast alone that night. He had been held up by Madame Pomfrey's fussing about, insisting on giving him one last checkup, so the great hall was already full. It was decked out in the Slytherin colors of green and silver to celebrate Slytherin's winning the House Cup for the 7th year in a row. A huge banner showing the Slytherin serpent covered the wall behind the high table. When Harry walked in, there was a sudden hush, and then everybody started talking loudly at once. He slipped into a seat between Ron and Hermione at the Gryffindor table and tried to ignore the fact that people were standing up to look at him. Fortunately, Dumbledore arrived moments later. The babble died away. Another year gone, Dumbledore said cheerfully, and I must trouble you with an old man's wheezing waffle before we sink our teeth into our delicious feast. What a year it has been! Hopefully your heads are all a little fuller than they were. You have the whole summer ahead to get them nice and empty before next year starts. Now, as I understand it, the House Cup here needs awarding, and the points stand thus. In 4th place, Gryffindor with 312 points. In 3rd, Hufflepuff with 352. Ravenclaw with 426. And Slytherin, 472. A storm of cheering and stamping broke out from the Slytherin table. Harry could see Draco Malfoy banging his goblet on the table. It was a sickening sight. Gross. Yes, well done, Slytherin, said Dumbledore. However, recent events must be taken into account. This is a funny Harry Potter meme. I can't remember when it is. I found it somewhere. I don't know. Maybe my friend sent it to me. My friend likes to send me memes, Harry Potter memes and such. It's like you have like Ravenclaw that was like, I did super well on the test, and Hufflepuff, I don't know, did something great, and then Slytherin did something great, and then Dumbledore like completely like forgets all the good things they did, and he's like, Gryffindor went on an adventure, Gryffindor wins. Oh man, maybe I'll find that meme somewhere. That's a good meme. The room went very still. The Slytherin smiles faded a little. Ahem, said Dumbledore. I have a few last-minute points to dish out. Let me see. Yes. First, to Mr. Ronald Weasley. Ron went purple in the face. He looked like a radish with a bad sunburn. For the best played game of chess Hogwarts has seen in many years, I award Gryffindor House 50 points. 50 points for a game of chess. Dumbledore's just making shit up now. He's like, I gotta give points to Gryffindor. What do I do? No, of course, that was a really important chess match, to be fair. It just, if you don't know the story, it sounds super, super lame. Like, what? Gryffindor cheers nearly raised the bewitched ceiling. The stars overhead seemed to quiver. Percy could be heard telling the other prefects, "My brother, you know, my youngest brother, got past McGonagall's giant chess set." So they know. They have context. Good. At last there was silence again. Second, to Miss Hermione Granger, for the use of cool logic in the face of fire. I award Gryffindor House 50 points. So she doesn't get any... So like, the Devil's Snare isn't her bit? Is it anyone? I guess not. I don't know. She gets credit for that, too. I award Gryffindor House 50 points. Hermione buried her face in her arms. Harry strongly suspected she had burst into tears. Gryffindors up and down the table were beside themselves. They were 100 points up. It's like he's undoing the damage that they had done to the Gryffindor points when they got detention for being out of bed earlier in the story. That whole bit that was just soul-crushing. Third, to Mr. Harry Potter, said Dumbledore. The room went deadly quiet. For pure nerve and outstanding courage, I award Gryffindor House 60 points. The din was deafening. Those who could add up while yelling themselves hoarse knew that Gryffindor now had 472 points. Exactly the same as Slytherin. They had tied for the House Cup if only Dumbledore had given Harry just one more point. Dumbledore raised his hand. The room gradually fell silent. There are all kinds of courage, said Dumbledore, smiling. It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to our enemies, but just as much to stand up to our friends. I therefore award 10 points to Mr. Neville Longbottom. And, like, that means so much more when, like, the movie didn't have... This is one of those instances where the book is better than the movie. Because Neville wasn't involved in the whole detention thing in the movie. In the book, because Neville felt like he himself also let Gryffindor down... Now, this is Dumbledore's way of undoing that for Neville as well. Someone standing outside the Great Hall might well have thought some sort of explosion had taken place, so loud was the noise that erupted from the Gryffindor table. Harry, Ron, and Hermione stood up to yell and cheer as Neville, white with shock, disappeared under a pile of people hugging him. He had never won so much as a point for Gryffindor before. Harry, still cheering, nudged Ron in the ribs and pointed at Malfoy, who couldn't have looked more stunned and horrified if he'd just had the bodybind curse put on him. Also, the reason why that losing all those points beforehand was so soul-crushing is so that this part could be so much better. It means so much more that Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville won all these points so that they could undo the damage that was done before. Which means, Dumbledore called over the storm of applause, for even Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff were celebrating the downfall of Slytherin. We need a little change of decoration. Cool part in the movie. He clapped his hands. In an instant, the green hangings became scarlet and the silver became gold. The huge Slytherin serpent vanished and a towering Gryffindor lion took its place. Snape was shaking. Snape was shaking. He was shaking. No, he was shaking Professor McGonagall's hand, but still. He was shaking Professor McGonagall's hand with a horrible, forced smile. He caught Harry's eye, and Harry knew at once that Snape's feelings toward him hadn't changed one jot. And they won't. This didn't worry Harry. It seemed as though life would be back to normal next year, or as normal as it ever was at Hogwarts. It was the best evening of Harry's life, better than winning at Quidditch or Christmas or knocking out mountain trolls. He would never, ever forget tonight. Harry had almost forgotten that the exam results were still to come, but come they did. To their great surprise, both he and Ron passed with good marks. Hermione, of course, had the best grades the first years. Even Neville scraped through, his good herbology mark making up for his abysmal potions one. They had hoped that Goyle, who was almost as stupid as he was mean, might be thrown out, but he had passed too. It was a shame, but as Ron said, you couldn't have everything in life. That's horrible. Why would you want that? Why would you want that for somebody? That's terrible. I don't care how mean he is. Jeez. And suddenly their wardrobes were empty, their trunks were packed, Neville's toad was found lurking in a corner of the toilets, notes were handed out to all students, warning them not to use magic over the holidays. I always hope they'll forget to give us these, said Fred Weasley sadly. Hagrid was there to take them down to the fleet of boats that sailed across the lake. They were boarding the Hogwarts Express, talking and laughing as the countryside became greener and tidier, eating Bertie Bott's every flavored beans as they sped past Muggle towns, pulling off their wizard robes and putting on jackets and coats, pulling into platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station. Holy moly, that sentence is so long. That sentence is an entire paragraph. Because it's each portion is separated by semicolons. That whole sentence is a paragraph long. Holy moly. Wow, they just wrapped it up, didn't they? It took quite a while for them all to get off the platform. A wizened old guard was up by the ticket barrier, letting them go through the gate in 2s and 3s so they didn't attract attention by all bursting out of a solid wall at once and alarming the Muggles. You must come and stay this summer, said Ron. Both of you. I'll send you an owl. Thanks, said Harry. I'll need something to look forward to. People jostled them as they moved forward toward the gateway back to the Muggle world. Some of them called, Bye, Harry. See you, Potter. Still famous, said Ron, grinning at him. Wow. Sorry, that might be a connection to Deathly Hallows. Holy moly. At the end, after 19 years later. Everyone sees Harry and they're freaking out, and who asks about it? One of the children ask about it, like, what are they talking about? And then Ron's like, it's me, I'm super famous. Wow, that might be a connection, I don't know. Not where I'm going, I promise you, said Harry. He, Ron, and Hermione passed through the gateway together. There he is, Mom. There he is, look. It was Ginny Weasley, Ron's younger sister, but she wasn't pointing at Ron. Harry Potter, she squealed. Look, Mom, I can see. Be quiet, Ginny, and it's rude to point. Mrs. Weasley smiled down at them. Busy year? She said. Very, said Harry. Thanks for the fudge and the sweater, Mrs. Weasley. Oh, it was nothing, dear. Ready, are you? It was Uncle Vernon, still purple-faced, still mustached, still looking furious at the nerve of Harry, carrying an owl in a cage in a station full of ordinary people. Behind him stood Aunt Petunia and Dudley, looking terrified at the very sight of Harry. Man, I feel like it's been forever since we saw them. Holy crap. Like, wow. I feel like it really has been a whole school year. You must be Harry's family, said Mrs. Weasley. In a manner of speaking, said Uncle Vernon. Hurry up, boy. We haven't got all day. He walked away. Harry hung back for a last word with Ron and Hermione. See you over the summer, then. Hope you have a good holiday, said Hermione, looking uncertainly after Uncle Vernon, shocked that anyone could be so unpleasant. Oh, I will, said Harry, and they were surprised at the grin that was spreading over his face. They don't know we're not allowed to use magic at home. I'm going to have a lot of fun with Dudley this summer. And that is it. That is the entire book. I read an entire book on YouTube. Holy moly. And that is the... Oh, I'm sorry. That's not gonna stand. Sorry. That is the 10th time I've read this book. I keep tick marks of how many times I read my books. All books, not just Harry Potter books. And this is the 10th time I've read this. Wow. Yay. Hooray. Yay, exciting. Okay, I will start Chamber Secrets. This is going later than normal. I usually take a break at 7:30 and it's like 8, but I had a lot to talk about for the start of the stream. I will take a 15-minute break and then we will come back for Chamber of Secrets. Hi. Welcome back. Okay, so during the break, I looked up the meme that I was talking about, the one where Dumbledore is like, Gryffindor wins for doing nothing. We're going on an adventure. And so I'm actually going to show you, we're going to go through, I found a bunch of Harry Potter memes that are fun. So I'm going to show them to you. We're going to look at some Harry Potter memes. And I hope you guys can see it, because I found it. It's this one. It's kind of hard to see. Yeah, wow. Holy crap. It is kind of hard to see. I can see it. Is there any way I can look at it bigger? Nope. Anyway. It says, so who should win the House Cup? Well, Ravenclaw performed all of the advanced charms perfectly. We at Hufflepuff got the highest scores on the herbology final. Slytherin helped make the Rober potion, which got rid of the Boggart infestation. Harry went on an adventure. Gryffindor wins! And like there's other versions too. Like this one's a nicer, a little. I like Harry's derby face. This looks really good. I like it. Favoritism. Level Dumbledore. I'm gonna look at some other ones too. I found this one. It didn't struck me immediately, but this is actually it's a reference from Mean Girls. The scene where what's his face gives the Christmas grams. It's just made into Harry Potter. 50 points for Ronald Weasley, Hermione Granger, 50 points for you, Harry Potter, 60 for you, Harry Potter, you go, Harry Potter, instead of you go, Glenn, go. And it says, and Neville Longbottom, do we have a Neville Longbottom here? It's Neville. Oh, Neville, here, you go, 10 for you, and none for Slytherin, bye. Instead of, and none for Gretchen Leaders. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I love it. This one here, McGonagall loses Dumbledore in a crowd. Slytherin wins the House Cup. 20,000 points to Gryffindor. Found him. Yeah, so she's in a crowd. So she's like, Slytherin wins the House Cup. And then Dumbledore shouts, 20,000 points to Gryffindor. Found him. What other ones are good? Oh, this one. Oops, looks like Slytherin won the House Cup. 1,000 points to Harry for breathing. Gryffindor wins. I thought this one was funny too. I'm Ron, by the way. Ron Weasley. I'm Harry Potter, your sister who bear my children. There's that one. What other one did I see that was good? Oh, this one. Whoa, hey. No, show me. Knows Voldemort is after the Sorcerer's Stone. Makes the traps surrounding it easy enough for first years to bypass. That's exactly what I was talking about last time. How I was like, okay, so they put all these enchantments around the stone, yet these first years are able to just... These 11-year-olds are able to get the stone, no problem, essentially. This one. Reasons Gryffindor always wins the House Cup. They earn it. Harry Potter. Oh, this one. This one is taken from a Harry Potter musical, which I talk about all the time. If you've never heard of it, go watch it right after the stream. So funny. I've seen it a million times. This is a scene from the play. Dumbledore is explaining about the House Cups. Basically, I've just been putting anyone who looks like a good guy into Gryffindor, anybody who looks like a bad guy into Slytherin, and the two can just go wherever the hell they want, I don't care. Hufflepuffs are particularly good finders, is what Cedric says. And Dumbledore goes, what the hell is a Hufflepuff? What the hell is a Hufflepuff? It's great. Oh, man. Oh, this is good too. Slytherin's House Cup Dumbledore. Completely pulled out from one of them.
It's good. It's good stuff. Let's drop him here. Or we could use the doorbell and explain the situation. It's dropped. Oh, fun. Harry Potter memes are fun. I love them. Fun, fun, fun. Fun for everyone. Well, kind of. Okay, so, let's see. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Yes. So exciting. How many times have I read this one? 8 times. I've read this one 8 times. About to be 9 times. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm so excited to be starting Chamber of Secrets. Chamber of Secrets is a good one. They're all good. What am I talking about? But the thing is, what I'm most excited about is not that we finally made a Chamber of Secrets. I'm excited because we're this much closer to getting to Prisoner of Azkaban, which means we're this much closer to getting to Goblet of Fire, and then Order of the Phoenix, then Half-Blood Prince, then Deathly Hallows. I'm so excited because it only gets better. That's the way it goes with Harry Potter books. They only get better. They only get better. And I am just really excited. Really excited because this book is already like 10 times better than the first one. Already. So good. So good. So good. I don't know if it's anybody's favorite. I really like the film of this book a lot. I have a lot of fond memories with it. So it's a really good book. And the scenes that they cut out from the movie are really good, which means the book is really good. So because there's scenes in the book that aren't in the movie that are really good, is what I'm trying to say. So really, really exciting. I'll read. I don't remember if I read the summary for the first one. I'll read the summary for this one. Ever since Harry Potter had come home for the summer, the Dursleys had been so mean and hideous that all Harry wanted was to get back to the Hogwarts School for Witchcraft and Wizardry. But just as he's packing his bags, Harry receives a warning from a strange impish creature who says that if Harry returns to Hogwarts, disaster will strike. And strike it does, for in Harry's second year at Hogwarts, fresh torments and horrors arise, including an outrageously stuck-up new professor and a spirit who haunts the girls' bathroom. But then the real trouble begins. Someone is turning Hogwarts students to stone. Could it be Draco Malfoy, a more poisonous rival than ever? Could it possibly be Hagrid, whose mysterious past is finally told? Or could it be the one everyone at Hogwarts most suspects? Harry Potter himself? Yeah. Very, very cool. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Very, very good. Okay. I don't know if this book is anybody's favorite. I've never heard that this book be anybody's favorite. If it's your favorite, please let me know. When people say... When people say that, is the first book dedicated to anybody? When people say what their favorite book is, they usually say Prisoner of Azkaban, Goblet of Fire. Those are the ones I hear the most. Prisoner of Azkaban and Goblet of Fire. No one ever says Order of the Phoenix, though I love Order of the Phoenix. I've never heard anybody say Half-Blood Prince, although that is my personal favorite. And then usually if people say Deathly Hallows, I don't believe them, because I don't think Deathly Hallows is allowed to be anybody's favorite. Deathly Hallows is so... It's a book that, like, stands alone apart from the others. I feel like it doesn't count. You know? Like, it's so vastly different from the other books that it doesn't really count as a Harry Potter book. But anyway, not that it's not a good book. It's really good, and you're absolutely allowed to like it. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Deathly Hallows. I just don't think it can be a favorite, that's all. Oh, yeah. She dedicated it to her daughter, her mother, I think, and her sister. J.K. Rowling likes to dedicate her books For Sean P. F. Harris, getaway driver and foul-weathered friend. I wonder if that was her friend growing up. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I don't know who that is exactly. Anyway, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Let's read chapter 1. I don't know if there's anything special to say about this. I feel like I had a lot of special things to say about the first book. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of back knowledge on. I don't have a whole lot of background on this one. Anyway, chapter 1, The Worst Birthday. Not for the first time, an argument had broken out over breakfast at number 4 Privet Drive. Mr. Vernon Dursley had been woken in the early hours of the morning by a loud hooting noise from his nephew Harry's room. Once again, we're back at the Dursleys. The beginning of a Harry Potter book is never interesting. It's always back with muggles, and it's always like, oh, can we just skip to the part where at Hogwarts, please? Is there any Harry Potter book that starts really interesting? Order the Phoenix. Order the Phoenix has a pretty good start from the jump with the Dementors and Dudley, and that was good. Goblet of Fire's kind of good because the Weasleys come to get Harry. But they do here too, so. Again, not the first chapter. I think Order of the Phoenix might be the only Harry Potter book where things get interesting from chapter 1. Yeah. And like, Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows don't start at the Dursleys, but they start in some boring backstory. The most boring chapter in Harry Potter history. Chapter 1 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Most boring chapter ever. The other Prime Minister, it's about the Muggle Prime Minister, of all things. Yikes. It's not fun. But the chapter after that, The Unbreakable Vow, is really good. Anyway. So yeah, we have to get through the Dursleys in order to get to the good stuff. We'll get there. At least we're not with the Dursleys as much here as we are in the first one, because we get to go to the Weasleys partway through before going to Hogwarts. "Third time this week," he roared across the table. "If you can't control that owl, it'll have to go." Harry tried yet again to explain. "She's bored," he said, with his new, deep voice. When I first saw this movie as a kid, it's when I first realized that I was attracted to Daniel Radcliffe. I was 11, and he was 12, 13. And suddenly he had a really deep voice, and I was just like, what is this? Hello. But he said he all of a sudden has a deep voice. "She's used to flying around outside. If I could just let her out at night." "Do I look stupid?" snarled Uncle Vernon, a bit of fried egg dangling from his bushy mustache. "Yeah, you do." "I know what'll happen if that owl's let out." He exchanged dark looks with his wife, Petunia. Harry tried to argue back, but his words were drowned by a long, loud belch from the Dursley son, Dudley. "I want more bacon." "Me too." I wrote that in my book. Me too. "There's more in the frying pan, Sweetums," said Aunt Petunia, turning misty eyes on her massive son. "We must build you up while we've got the chance. I don't like the sound of that school food." "Nonsense, Petunia. I never went hungry when I was at Smeltings," said Uncle Vernon heartily. "Dursley gets enough, don't you, son?" "Dudley. Did I say Dursley by accident? Dudley gets enough, don't you, son?" Dudley, who was so large his bottom drooped over every side of the kitchen chair, grinned and turned to Harry. "Pass the frying pan." "You've forgotten the magic word," said Harry irritably. The effect of this simple sentence on the rest of the family was incredible. Dudley gasped and fell off his chair with a crash that shook the whole kitchen. Mrs. Dursley gave a little small scream, and clapped her hands to her mouth. Mr. Dursley jumped to his feet, veins throbbing in his temples. "I meant please," said Harry quickly. I didn't mean—" "What have I told you?" thundered his uncle, spraying spit over the table. "About saying the M-word in our house?" "But how dare you threaten Dudley?" roared Uncle Vernon, pounding the table with his fist. I warned you. I will not tolerate mention of your abnormality under this roof." Harry stared from his purple-faced uncle to his pale-faced aunt, who was trying to heave Dudley to his feet. "All right," said Harry. "All right." Uncle Vernon sat back down, breathing like a winded rhinoceros and watching Harry closely out of the corners of his small, sharp eyes. Ever since Harry had come home for the summer holidays, Uncle Vernon had been treating him like a bomb that might go off at any moment, because Harry Potter wasn't a normal boy. As a matter of fact, he was as not normal as it is possible to be. Harry Potter was a wizard fresh from his first year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, and if the Dursleys weren't happy to have him back for the holidays, it was nothing to how Harry felt. He missed Hogwarts so much, it was like having a constant stomachache. He missed the castle, with its secret passageways and ghosts, his classes, though perhaps not Snape, the potions master, the mail arriving by owl, eating banquets in the Great Hall, sleeping in his four-poster bed in the Tower dormitory, visiting the gamekeeper Hagrid in his cabin next to the Forbidden Forest and the grounds, and especially Quidditch, the most popular sport in the wizarding world, 6 tall goalposts, 4 flying balls, and 14 players on broomsticks. Another super long sentence. That sentence was almost an entire paragraph. That paragraph, which is about this thick, only has 2 sentences. All Harry's spellbooks, his wand, robes, cauldron, and top-of-the-line Nimbus 2000 broomstick had been locked in a cupboard under the stairs by Uncle Vernon the instant Harry had come home. What did the Dursleys care if Harry lost his place on the house Quidditch team because he hadn't practiced all summer? Where would you practice? The neighbors would see you. What was it to the Dursleys if Harry went back to school without any of his homework done? The Dursleys were what wizards called muggles, not a drop of magical blood in their veins. And as far as they were concerned, having a wizard in the family was a matter of deepest shame. Uncle Vernon had even padlocked Harry's owl, Hedwig, inside her cage to stop her from carrying messages to anyone in the wizarding world. Harry looked nothing like the rest of the family. Uncle Vernon was large and necklaced with an enormous black mustache. Aunt Petunia was horse-faced and bony. Dudley was blonde, pink, and porky. Harry, on the other hand, was small and skinny, with brilliant green eyes and jet black hair that was always untidy. He wore round glasses, and on his forehead was a thin, lightning-shaped scar. It was this scar that made Harry so particularly unusual, even for a wizard. The scar was the only hint of Harry's very mysterious past, of the reason he had been left on the Dursleys' doorstep 11 years before. At the age of 1-year-old, Harry had somehow survived a curse from the greatest dark sorcerer of all time, Lord Voldemort, whose name most witches and wizards still feared to speak. Harry's parents had died in Voldemort's attack, but Harry had escaped with his lightning scar, and somehow, nobody understood why, Voldemort's powers had been destroyed the instant he had failed to kill Harry. So Harry had been brought up by his dead mother's sister and her husband. He had spent 10 years with the Dursleys, never understanding why he kept making odd things happen without meaning to, believing the Dursley story that he had got his scar in the car crash that had killed his parents. And then exactly a year ago, Hogwarts had written to Harry, and the whole story had come out. Harry had taken up his place at wizard school where he and his scar were famous. But now the school year was over, and he was back with the Dursleys for the summer, back to being treated like a dog that had rolled in something smelly. The Dursleys hadn't even remembered that today happened to be Harry's 12th birthday. Of course, his hopes hadn't been high. They'd never given him a real present, let alone a cake. But to ignore it completely... At that moment, Uncle Vernon cleared his throat importantly and said, "Now, as we all know, today is a very important day." Harry looked up, hardly daring to believe it. "This could well be the day I make the biggest deal of my career," said Uncle Vernon. Harry went back to his toast. Of course, he thought bitterly. Uncle Vernon was talking about the stupid dinner party. He'd been talking of nothing else for 2 weeks. Some rich builder and his wife were coming to dinner, and Uncle Vernon was hoping to get a huge order from him. Uncle Vernon's company made drills. I think we should run through the schedule one more time, said Uncle Vernon. We should all be in position at 8 o'clock. Petunia, you will be in the lounge, said Aunt Petunia promptly, waiting to welcome them graciously to our home. Good, good. And Dudley, I'll be waiting to open the door. Dudley put on a foul, simpering smile. May I take your coats, Mr. and Mrs. Mason? They'll love him, cried Aunt Petunia rapturously. Excellent, Dudley, said Uncle Vernon. Then he rounded on Harry. And you? I'll be in my bedroom, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, said Harry tonelessly. Exactly, said Uncle Vernon nastily. I will lead them into the lounge, introduce you, Petunia, and pour them drinks. At 8:15, I'll announce dinner, said Aunt Petunia. And Dudley, you'll say, May I take you through to the dining room, Mrs. Mason, said Dudley, offering his fat arm to an invisible woman. My perfect little gentleman, sniffed Aunt Petunia. And you, said Uncle Vernon viciously to Harry. I'll be in my room, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, said Harry dully. Precisely. Now, we shall aim to get in a few good compliments at dinner. Petunia, any ideas? Vernon tells me you're a wonderful golfer, Mr. Mason. Do tell me where you bought your dress, Mrs. Mason. Perfect. Dudley, how about we had to write an essay about our hero at school, Mr. Mason, and I wrote about you. What an odd thing to say to a stranger. This was too much for both Aunt Petunia and Harry. Aunt Petunia burst into tears and hugged her son, while Harry ducked under the table so they wouldn't see him laughing. And you, boy? Harry fought to keep his face straight as he emerged. I'll be in my room, making no noise and pretending I'm not there, he said. Too right you will, said Uncle Vernon forcefully. The Masons don't know anything about you, and it's going to stay that way. When dinner's over, you take Mrs. Mason back to the lounge for coffee, Petunia, and I'll bring the subject around to drills. With any luck, I'll have the deal signed and sealed before the news at 10. We'll be shopping for a vacation home in Majorca this time tomorrow. Harry couldn't feel too excited about this. He didn't think the Dursleys would like him any better in Majorca than they did on Privet Drive. Right. I'm off into town to pick up the dinner jackets for Dudley and me. And you, he snarled at Harry, you stay out of your aunt's way while she's cleaning. Harry left through the back door. It was a brilliant sunny day. He crossed the lawn, slumped down on the garden bench, and sang under his breath, Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me. That's so sad. No cards, no presents, and he would be spending the evening pretending not to exist. He gazed miserably into the hedge. He had never felt so lonely. More than anything else at Hogwarts, more ever than playing Quidditch, Harry missed his best friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger. They, however, didn't seem to be missing him at all. Neither of them had written to him all summer, even though Ron had said he was going to ask Harry to come and stay. Countless times Harry had been on the point of unlocking Hedwig's cage by magic and sending her to Ron and Hermione with a letter, but it wasn't worth the risk. Underage wizards weren't allowed to use magic outside of school. Harry hadn't told the Dursleys this. He knew it was only their terror that he might turn them all into dung beetles that stopped them from locking him in the cupboard under the stairs with his wand and broomstick. For the first couple of weeks back, Harry had enjoyed muttering nonsense words under his breath and watching Dudley tearing out of the room as fast as his fat legs would carry him. But the long silence from Ron and Hermione had made Harry feel so cut off from the magical world that even taunting Dudley had lost its appeal, and now Ron and Hermione had forgotten his birthday. I wrote some notes that I'm reading. What wouldn't he give now for a message from Hogwarts? From any witch or wizard? He'd almost be glad of a sight of his arch enemy, Draco Malfoy, just to be sure it hadn't all been a dream. And I just put, that would be interesting. Fanfiction idea? Not that his whole year at Hogwarts had been fun. At the very end of last term, Harry had come face to face with none other than Lord Voldemort himself. Voldemort might be a ruin of his former self, but he was still terrifying, still cunning, still determined to regain power. Harry had slipped through Voldemort's clutches for a second time, but it had been a narrow escape, and even now, weeks later, Harry kept waking in the night, drenched in a cold sweat, wondering where Voldemort was now, remembering his livid face, his wide, mad eyes. Harry suddenly sat bolt upright on the garden bench. He had been staring absent-mindedly into the hedge, and the hedge was staring back. Two enormous green eyes had appeared among the leaves. Harry jumped to his feet, just as a jeering voice floated across the lawn. "I know what day it is," sang Dudley, waddling toward him. The huge eyes blinked and vanished. "What?" said Harry, not taking his eyes off the spot where they had been. "I know what day it is," Dudley repeated, coming right up to him. "Well done," said Harry. "So you finally learned the days of the week." "Today's your birthday," sneered Dudley. "How come you haven't got any cards? Haven't you got friends at that freak place?" "Better not let your mum hear you talking about my school," said Harry coolly. Dudley hitched up his trousers, which were slipping down his fat bottom. "Why are you staring at that hedge?" he said suspiciously. "I'm trying to decide what would be the best spell to set it on fire," said Harry. Dudley stumbled backward at once, a look of panic on his fat face. "You can't. Dad told you not to do magic. He said he'll chuck you out of the house. And you haven't got anywhere else to go. You haven't got any friends to take you." "Jiggery pokery," said Harry in a fierce voice. "Hocus pocus, squiggly wiggly." Jiggery pokery, they used that for a Potter Puppet Pal skit, I remember. "Jiggery pokery." "Mom!" howled Dudley, tripping over his feet as he dashed back toward the house. "Mom! He's doing you-know-what!" Harry paid dearly for his moment of fun, as neither Dudley nor the hedge was in any way hurt, and Petunia knew he hadn't really done magic, but he still had to duck as she aimed a heavy blow at his head with the soapy frying pan. Then she gave him work to do, with the promise he wouldn't eat again until he'd finished. Again, child abuse. Don't know how they get away with this. While Dudley lolled around watching and eating ice cream, Harry cleaned the windows, washed the car, mowed the lawn, trimmed the flower beds, pruned and watered the roses, and repainted the garden bench. Jeez. The sun blazed overhead, burning the back of his neck. Harry knew he shouldn't have risen to Dudley's bait, but Dudley had said the very thing Harry had been thinking himself. Maybe he didn't have any friends at Hogwarts. "Wish they could see famous Harry Potter now," he thought savagely as he spread manure on the flower beds, his back aching, sweat running down his face. It was 7:30 in the evening when at last, exhausted, he heard Aunt Petunia calling him. "Get in here and walk on the newspaper." Harry moved gladly into the shade of the gleaming kitchen. On top of the fridge stood tonight's pudding, a huge mound of whipped cream and sugared violets. A loin of roast pork was sizzling in the oven. "Eat, quickly, the Masons will be here soon," snapped Aunt Petunia, pointing to 2 slices of bread and a lump of cheese on the kitchen table. Again, child abuse. That's not a meal. She was already wearing a salmon-pink cocktail dress. Harry washed his hands and bolted down his pitiful supper. The moment he had finished, Aunt Petunia whisked away his plate. "Upstairs! Hurry!" As he passed the door to the living room, Harry caught a glimpse of Uncle Vernon and Dudley in bow ties and dinner jackets. He had only just reached the upstairs landing when the doorbell rang and Uncle Vernon's furious face appeared at the foot of the stairs. "Remember, boy, one sound." Harry crossed to his bedroom on tiptoe, slipped inside, closed the door, and turned to collapse on his bed. The trouble was, there was already someone sitting on it. Who that is, we will find out next time. We ran really late this time. I don't remember how late last time went, but the last few chapters of Harry Potter were really long. But yeah, that's it for chapter 1. We're going to meet Dobby next time. So join me next Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube for chapters 2 and 3 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And if you don't want to wait that long, join me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be playing Nancy Drew's Sea of Darkness. We'll have a fun time. I won't have face cam because it's Sunday. I'll be in my pajamas, but we'll just come, hang out, play video games, have a good time. Yeah, and more uploads to come. And then join me Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for The Sims. I'll be playing my nifty knitting save file, probably. And then Friday, if I don't finish Nancy Drew tomorrow, I will probably finish it Friday. And then Saturday for Storytime Saturday number 10. Back here for more Chamber of Secrets. Yeah. If you haven't already, hit that like button. Even if you're watching the video after the fact, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the series. Did you enjoy my reading of Sorcerer's Stone? Are you excited for Chamber of Secrets? Do you like this book? Is it your favorite? Do you hate it? Let me know. Leave a like on the video, and if you haven't already, click subscribe and click the notification bell so you can be notified the next time I go live and the next time I upload. Follow me on Twitter, and yeah, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you have a magical evening. Bye-bye.